Welcome to Collectively Examining Digital Literacy as Teaching and Learning, a practitioner-driven approach. I'm Bethany Silva. I'm a research assistant professor at the University of New Hampshire in the Education Department.
Hi, I'm Alicia Magnifico, and I'm an associate professor in the English department, again at the University of New Hampshire.
We are a research team of 12 kindergarten through college researchers and educators, and we've spent almost 2 years researching together now. Our team uses the acronym TILDE, which stands for Transformational Inquiry in Literacy and Digital Environments. Our project investigates how educators transition to remote learning. Our goal is to develop actionable recommendations for state policy and teachers' professional learning to enact more equitable digital literacies learning.
And in our session today, different team members in the roundtables are going to share some information on what we've accomplished and how we did it. To sum it up at a very high level, the biggest thing that we did was to bring together an interdisciplinary team as collaborative researchers. Working together, we wrote a survey and focus group protocols, and we administered these instruments, focusing on 4 school districts within our state. Using those instruments, we collected pilot data, and together we built methodological expertise as an interdisciplinary team. And what that means is that all of us have taught, learned, and participated in each other's methods, including statistical analyses, data mining, qualitative content analysis, and classroom observations and reflections. And then finally, the stage that we're at right now is conducting analysis and beginning to work together as a team to write blog posts and conference proposals. So we're very excited to see you, and we look forward to talking with you in our roundtables. The rest of this video is going to give you a preview of what's to come.
Hi, I'm Bethany Silva.
And I'm Ashley Barry.
We're going to share how the TILDE team structured our online summer research retreat.
This slide shows the structure of the first day of our entirely online 3-day retreat. If you're interested in accessing this slide for later, we've included a link in the presentation notes. We're going to highlight 3 areas that are representative of how we sought to build our beliefs around how a group might work together.
As we planned the retreat, we sought to embed our belief that collaboration should be equitable into the things that we did each day. We opened our retreat with writing into the idea of why are we here, seeking to engage in authentic collaboration, ensure that all voices are included in the conversation, and mitigate feelings of imposter syndrome.
We also articulated group norms at an early stage, which acted as an opportunity to question the values embedded in our norms. One of our group norms is, we are all experts in something, and all those somethings have lingo. We should value each other's expertise equally and define terms for each other. Naming this creates an environment that validates everyone and establishes that it is everyone's responsibility to avoid using language in ways that make others feel less valued.
Whenever we worked on anything, we sought to embed a tangible purpose into that work. Our general structure for each time block is introduce the topic, engage with the topic by doing, making, creating, and discussing, and then reflect and debrief.
For example, in one breakout room, we asked everyone to reflect on their experiences teaching digitally during COVID-19, share with a small group, and create multimodal way to share out the group's observations, like a meme or drawing. Later, these multimodal creations were used to help inform the creation of survey questions.
This format asked us to engage with our data in tangible, creative ways that helped us to re-envision our thinking using multiple pathways to speak across disciplinary boundaries. We tried to make our concrete goals both achievable and a little bit of a time crunch so we could get there, but we had to stay focused.
Finally, because collaborative work gets messy, we ended each day by tracking our accomplishments. In collaborative work, it's easy to come to the end of the day and feel like nothing's been accomplished. So we took time to recognize the good work that we've done together.
As you can see, a unique aspect of our digital literacies teaching and research group is the wide range of voices, including K-16 educators and university researchers from various parts of the state. Each person's unique interests and experiences informed our research. We kept weekly journals of our experiences, distributed surveys, and conducted focus groups. These items were our data.
We then used multiple research methods to analyze our data to ensure that all voices were represented. The results of one method were always iteratively informing our work in other methods. For instance, thematic analysis of our journals helped to guide our descriptive review analysis of surveys and focus groups. From the various methods and analyses, group members pursued different outcomes based on their interests, from blogs to literature reviews, for instance.
In our approach, we have two overarching components to collaborative analysis: idea generation through qualitative text analysis and idea refinement through interpretation and creation. For instance, we analyze text from journals, surveys, and focus group transcripts in a bottom-up way, analyzing language to identify themes and questions for further research. We then also used a round-robin descriptive review to work line by line through important themes in the surveys and focus groups.
Through ample small and whole group discussion, we made connections among the data. We contextualized it, connecting it back to the larger world and branching out to our own experiences. We used post-it sorting exercises and other brainstorming activities to imagine how best to share the results and questions from our analysis, and we met over Zoom to maintain the collaboration. These collaborations produced outcomes such as blogs, articles, and questions for future study.
Our research in digital literacies encompassed a mass of complex and sometimes conflicting data. This complex body of text, as well as the complex range of experiences we brought to it, required multiple methods to analyze.
But perhaps the most important parts of our collaborative analysis were the biweekly meetings and breaks between them that allowed our ideas and questions to grow over time. And speaking of our work, you can learn more about our findings next.
Hello and welcome to our session. My name is Anne McQuaid. I'm an English language learner teacher in the Manchester School District, and I'm also adjunct faculty at the University of New Hampshire. I was excited to be involved with this research team because it really interests me. A lot of teachers during the pandemic, the lockdown laid bare a host of inequities that we kept seeing. Some really interesting questions kept surfacing. So the big question was, did teachers continue to assess student work in the same old ways? Kathy?
There were, I'm Kathy Fraser, and I'm a library media specialist at Prospect Mountain High School. And I've been involved with UNH for some years, and I really have enjoyed working with this group. Some of the assumptions that we saw from the research that we did on this question, did teachers continue to assess student work in the same old ways? The first assumption, big assumption that we saw was more hardware would translate to equity and digital literacy. And it didn't turn out that that happened, even though schools rushed to provide one-to-one Chromebooks to students when everyone went into lockdown.
And the second assumption that we found was digital literacy skills are easily transferable. Students' agility with social media did not match academic expectations. Students' home literacies, we found that parents were either ill-equipped or unavailable to help students. And just for the sake of time, I'm only going to mention a couple more. Hopefully this will get you to go to our session. Proper address and emails and other communications weren't getting through. Attaching documents and turning assignments. We made the assumption that kids knew how to navigate, for example, Google Classroom, when in fact they didn't.
And the third assumption is that traditional assessments could serve as accurate and appropriate measurements of functional real-world skills. Didn't turn out to be true either. We found that assessments didn't necessarily align with instruction, even though teachers were trying to maintain the same old methods of doing things as they did with in-person instruction during the pandemic. Thank you. And I hope we see you at our roundtable discussion, and hope you can join us. Thanks.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks.
Hi, folks, and welcome to our NCTE Set Roundtable session, Digital Triage and Digital Literacies, Educators' Experiences in COVID-19 Classrooms. My name is Shauna Coppola, and I'm from the Educator Collaborative.
My name is David Baruti, and I'm a middle school teacher at the Derryfield School in Manchester, New Hampshire.
And my name is Alicia Magnifico, and I'm a teacher educator at the University of New Hampshire. So as you know, our team conducted a survey and focus groups with educators from 3 areas of our state. And for this particular part of the work, we used thematic and narrative analysis to investigate 2 research questions. With that first research question, we were interested in teachers' concerns about digital access and equity. And in the second research question, we were interested in how teachers evaluated and adopted digital tools during COVID-19.
So throughout our data, we saw instances where systems attempted to digitally replicate the interactions of face-to-face educational spaces. Cameras on policies, for example, gave students and teachers a sense of presence, but made broadband internet and workplaces necessary, quiet workplaces rather. So neither of which worked for students who didn't have access. These were enormously important questions that the systems and schools needed to answer. But because the priority of care, so to speak, was on in-person schooling, we were essentially forced to engage in digital triage. In other words, we had to make choices that would ultimately work to replicate those systems.
Ultimately, new teaching requires a move from last year's digital triage to an incorporation of communicative digital literacies, which requires asking an additional set of questions that are more complex in nature. For example, rather than asking if a student can simply employ a tool, teachers could begin to ask how digital tools can help students demonstrate understanding in multiple ways. This research suggests that equitable in-school uptake of digital literacies will require a redesign of systems to prioritize digital literacies practices rather than surveillance, order, and the replication of traditional educational values.
Thanks so much for listening to our overview, and we look forward to chatting with you in the roundtable.